So we were talking to Kevin and Ken about so we're talking to Kevin and Ken about the run game. So what are a couple of things that you guys think you can do better over the last 8 weeks as opposed to before the bye?
Yeah, we just, at the end of the day, it comes down to executing when we call the runs. We've had some decent looks, and there's been some good runs. We watch all of our runs from, before the bye and stuff during the bye, so we try to get some of that going. But it comes to executing, and when we have an ideal premier look, like you have to take advantage of it. I feel like there's been too many where it's like, oh, this is a good box for us, and someone missed a block or it was, miscalled. So those have been tough for us. We're gonna try and get back to what we do good though. We're gonna add some things in there, getting it comfortable. But it really comes down to executing a little bit better.
Kevin or Ken just mentioned, leaning into what you guys did well for the first 9 games. Can there be a significant scheme shift going back to something you did before? Or
yeah, I mean,
really focus on one area.
We have a lot, not a lot. Like everybody has every kind of running. You have gap, you have zone, you have inside zone, you have G schemes. There's a lot that goes into it. So you can find the plays that you were successful in and kind of, work into that a little bit better, and especially with your personnel. You have different guys that excel at different things. White's a good puller and get him in space and do things of that nature. So there's definitely ways you can find it. And it's not that we don't have the plays in, it's just what we're going to call that week.
Why might Jameis be the right quarterback and the right guy to kind of help navigate you guys through a 2-7 record in the rest of the season?
Yeah, he has contagious energy. Every day he's the same guy. He's the first guy in the building, and he's focused on being the best version of himself, which in turn, helps the team out. But he has a very positive energy, and when you're out there with him, there's that excitement that he brings, and he's focused on just trying to win one play at a time, and really he does do a good job of playing one play, forgetting that play, and going on to the next play. So. That's kind of the mentality we've had as an offense, and we're just trying to win one play at a time.
Are you getting used to having DeJuan Jones next to you?
Yeah, it's been good. We've had a couple weeks now. We're going into the third week, and I give him a lot of credit for going over there and trying to play. He's played a lot of right tackle, so to switch sides is tough, but I think he's getting more comfortable each time he gets a rep there, and our communication is getting better. I understand what he likes to hear and how we need to communicate, so it's improving every week.
Does the fact that he's so big affect spacing at all?
It does. It's a little comfy. You got a big guy next to you. You're like, oh, this guy's big over here. But no, you get used to it. Every once in a while, I'm like, hey, scoot out a little bit. Like you're you're a big guy, but no, you get used to it pretty quickly.
Andrew, when we talk to Andrew about the tackles, he has the philosophy that right can play left, left can play right. Just though your vast experience in seeing DeJuan make this transition over there, do you see him as a potential future left tackle in the making?
Yeah, I think he can play it. I think he's shown already. I mean, we went against Khalil Mack and Bosa, and there was some help and some chips and some scheme stuff. But for the most part, he's very solid in pass protection, and for him, it's always going to be the details of just keep working that. But I think as long as his body holds up and stuff, I think he can play either side. It's kind of what other side he wants to really get into and make that commitment to. But yeah, I think he could be a left tackle or a right tackle, whatever he kind of chooses or the coaches choose for him.
Can I ask you another question on the running game? We were talking to Nick yesterday, and he said the blocking schemes are very similar to what you've done in the past, but his words were the running game just hasn't been up to the same level, and he did not know why. Why do you think that?
Yeah, I mean, I think if we had an answer, we'd be running the ball a lot better. Like I said, when you look at the tape, after watching everything like that, it's come down to most of the time like one guy missing a block here and there, and so it comes down to doing your 1/11th and finding that execution. Like Nick said, like we're running a lot of the same schemes, and I say if we get a clean box and we get a premier look, we have to truly execute that, and that hasn't been done enough. Where it's like, oh, premier look, we got 3 or 4 yards. It's like 4 yards is a positive run, but when you have that look, you got to get 10 plus. You got to have an explosive run, and we haven't executed that well enough.
Joel, when you look at the team's defense in front, what stands out?
Yeah, they all play hard. They have a lot of experience. Their edges are big. like 6'4", 6'5", 260 to 280 guys. They're pretty versatile. Played a lot of jam last week, which is putting 5 guys on the D line, but their inside guys are all talented, powerful rushers. They 2-gap most of the time, but they'll run some games, and then their rush package is pretty good. They have a lot of games, but they can give you odd, they can give you 4 down. They put their linebackers up, and they can pick and do all types of stuff. So it's pretty versatile front.
Joel, you obviously have a quick turnaround after this game. How hard have those short weeks gotten on your body as you've gotten older?
Yeah, they're tough. It's not easy to go from Sunday to Thursday. I truly haven't even thought about it yet because I'm like, we got a game this week, and then I'll figure it out next week. But no, they're tough turnarounds, especially I feel like. There's early in the year your body's not quite used to playing, so that's a tough turnaround. But later in the year you're like, this is tough. But we have the bye, so hopefully guys are getting fresher and feeling ready, and they can kind of take that into this little 2-game stretch.
Yeah, but I was going to ask, so you're not thinking about kind of that turnaround, that recovery time, or anything like that already?
Nope. I gotta play this game first. I can't double think,
Yeah.
Joel, kind of along those lines, do you have how you want to spend the bye week down to a science kind of at this point in your career? I mean, I know last year you had that small procedure done on your knee. But this year, not having to worry about that. What's most important for you, I guess?
Oh, I got 3 kids now under 5, so I got to spend time being a dad and being a husband. Did a date night, some fun things like that. But we just stayed in Cleveland. I came in, got my body right a few days, but then for me, it's really getting out of the building and getting away from people, the building, just refresh your mind. But I got to be a dad for a few days, so that was pretty fun. But I don't have anything. If I need to come in, I need to come in. It's kind of, I don't take any extravagant trips. I think early in my career I made a plans for a trip, and I got a high ankle sprain the day before in the game before, so I was like, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm just focusing on football.
Jordan was up here yesterday. Jordan Hicks was talking about just all the stuff that he's been through this season. It just got me thinking that's probably goes in one ear and out the other for you guys and even us. But how often are guys dealing with injuries and stuff like that people don't see?
Yeah, it's 100% injury rate in the NFL. If you play in the game, you're feeling something the next week. It doesn't always end up on the injury report, or it's not serious enough where you have to get necessarily rehab for it specifically. But guys are battling through, and most guys are pretty quiet about it, so you don't even understand the severity of things and how guys fight. But it's a tough sport for tough guys, and to be out there on a week-to-week basis is impressive. But guys go through a lot of stuff, and it's kind of crazy how much some of the guys put their bodies through to go out there and play.
We're desensitized to the injuries and the violence in the sport a little bit.
Oh, for sure, but it's part of it. We sign up for it, but yeah, I think guys. I mean, every Monday it's like you wake up from 70 car crashes and you feel it and you wake up, and I definitely don't walk quite as well on Monday as I do on Friday. Coming out of it, so it's part of the business though, and I think it's a great part about the sport is it's a tough sport. How can you come back from that, and how can you do it on a week-to-week basis and be consistent? But the guys that can do it like that, it's very impressive.
When you talk about that Saints defense, does it remind you of what Joe Woods did here, or is it more kind of the Dennis Allen look?
I think more Dennis Allen. I know Joe Woods' secondary has a lot of that stuff involved, but this week he kind of called plays. He ran a lot more jam front. But they run a little bit more under defense than I remember Joe Woods running when he was here. So I think they're a little bit more 2-gapping up front than what I remember Joe Woods doing here. But there's definitely some blitz tells and some game tells that he used to run as well.
Joel, one of the surprising stats going into the bye week is you guys haven't had a play go for 40 yards yet this year. You've had some go over 20, but you're not really keeping pace with the flow of maybe what the defense gives up. What's it going to take for you guys to really get those home run plays that we have become so accustomed to seeing the last couple of years?
Yeah, the explosive plays are huge. I think that's why the NFL went so heavy to the pass game, because they realized hey, if you get a 40, 50-yard gain, your chances of scoring on that drive and scoring a touchdown are significantly higher. And I think it just comes down to our execution. If someone's open, we have to protect well enough, and if we're protecting well enough, we have to find the open guy. You see plays like the end of the Baltimore game where we took advantage of it. That would have been an 80-yard touchdown if we called it, on the 20. But you score a touchdown before it happens. So there's plays, and then the run game, we got to finish our blocks and try and get Nick and Jerome and Pierre onto that second level where they can make those safeties miss. But I think, like I talked about, it really comes down to our execution, and when we have the opportunity, you got to find a way to make it happen.
Joel,
just a couple more.
Jed talked about his injury situation earlier this week, and Kevin sort of described it as like using the wrong words to kind of describe why he didn't play that Ravens game. But I think that situation in general kind of opened up as you were talking about injuries, just like the battle that you guys have to go through between like playing through an injury and just not playing at all because you can. How often are you guys doing that, and how tough is that to sort of combat at times?
Yeah, it's tough because there's times like as a player, I always think like, well, if I'm at 70 or 80%, like you have to find that fine balance. Am I a better option than what's out on the field, and can I protect myself, and will my injury get significantly worse if I go out there? So those are kind of like the three questions that go through my mind when I'm doing it. Most of the time, if I can go, I'm going to be out there. But if it's going to get worse or you're not able to perform, like you make that decision. And it's not always just the player. Like the coaches make that decision. The training staff, they'll let a guy know like, hey, you can't go this week. Like it's not worth it for you to go out there. So it's definitely constant communication. But you're starting that talk on Monday, like you visit with Voos, you visit with the doctors, and they're like, hey, this is what we're kind of feeling. This is how we're going to play out the week, and you go through practice. So it's a journey every week, and each case is different. There's no like one way to do things. And I think majority of the time, if a guy's too injured to go, they make that decision.
Thanks, Joel.
Yeah, appreciate it.
So these guys are the ball hawks, the Saints. Can you just talk about what's your approach when you go into a game like this against an aggressive secondary and defensive backs like this?
I just play my game, learn their techniques. Like you say, they're very aggressive, so, I got to do a good job of being aggressive back and, fighting through contact.
And they've got big physical corners, right? I mean, like, this is...
They're not big. I mean, they play physical, but they're not big. Yeah.
But physical, so you have to expect a lot of contact in this game.
Yeah.
Seth was telling us earlier this week, I think, with Jameis, like you always got to be ready. That ball will be on you.
Yeah.
Is that sort of the experience with him? Like,
yeah, for sure.
Get on you anytime?
Yeah, for sure. No matter what read you is in the progression, wherever you're at on the field, you got to stay ready because Jameis could hit you. You won't even know. So you just got to stay ready and make sure you run your route 100% all the time.
Jameis kind of talked about his time in New Orleans, and one of the big things he picked up was just kind of like his preparation from guys like Drew Brees and Sean Payton. Obviously, you worked with Sean last year, but what do you notice about Jameis and the way he prepares for a game in each and every single week?
Just how consistent he is throughout the week. Just how focused he is. Every detail, every little thing. He's gonna do the same thing every week. Just to prepare himself mentally and physical. So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Coming off the bye week here, and the coaches did their usual self-scout that they do and whatnot. Just for you, what do you hope to adjust or accomplish here for these remaining 8 games?
Man, these 8 games, I just want to be able to be the best player as I could be, really. Just keep constantly getting open, constantly making plays and constantly being involved in the offense, So that's the only thing I can ask for, and that's the only thing I can do. So, yeah.
Are you, like, when you look back on the first half of the season, I realize not really the time for reflection, but are you happy, like, with what you have done as an individual?
No, as a receiver, you're gonna always feel like you could do more. That you always gonna feel like you left a lot out there on the table. But I can't dwell on that. And just make sure that all the opportunities I get coming forward, I just take advantage of that.
Jared, what do you think with said, I know he's talked about getting more attention from DBs now. What do you think is important as you handle that extra kind of attention as a receiver? What do you need to do?
You just gotta find ways to get open. Basically just Seb been making a lot of plays these past week. So DB's going defense gonna key up on him. So you just gotta consistently just figure ways to get open and stay open. Basically, yeah.
How good do you think the duo you and Seb could potentially get? Like, what is the ceiling for this?
Teron, there ain't no ceilings. For real, we good. We could be as good as we want to be. Just constantly keep making plays and constantly getting involved in the offense. And the sky's the limit.
How about a player like Teron Matthews? I'm sure you've played against him before.
Did I?
At some point, have you?
I can't. I don't know. I don't think so.
What are you seeing on film of him? What makes him so good?
Just how smart he is. He's been in the league a very long time, so he's seen all different types of route trees and route combinations. So he's just a real smart player. For real.
What did you do in the bye week?
The bye week, I went to LA. Vibe for a little bit. Yeah, not too much, not too major.
One of the odd stats through this part of the season is you guys don't have a play of over 40 yards this year. Do you feel like you guys are close to that big home run play?
Yeah, I feel like we have opportunities every week to really do that. But so some things just happen. So we got 8 more games left to achieve that goal. So hopefully we do that.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I'm trying to give you room.
Go Tigers.
How you doing?
Look.
So what do you see when you look at film of Derek Carr?
You know, I see he wants to throw the ball. He throws the ball in some tight windows. Very good with his check down reads also. So he's a pretty solid quarterback.
Is this an extra special game for you? Going home and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, it's a homecoming for me. I have a lot of family coming to the game, to say the least. So, you know, I want to get them a good win. But, of course, they're going to be torn between the Saints and me. But, they're going to be cheering for me. But I'm going to have a lot of people at the game.
Great. What about Alvin Kamara and the fact that he's the leading receiver and the leading rusher for them?
Yeah. Stop 41. That's what we've been focusing on. So, from his ball carrying ability, balance, pass catching ability, he's the leading rusher and receiver for their team right now. So, I think that says that says everything.
Have you emulated a player like John Matthew over the years? I mean, what do you think of his game?
Of course. You know, now, you know, he's still getting away like 3 picks on the season, you know, already. It's cool to see him kind of finishing his career in the hometown. So it's just crazy to see how he's still getting that ball. Just a real ball hawk, in my opinion. Always been one. So shout out to him. You know, he really paid away.
You guys obviously in the Chargers game had those miscommunications in the secondary. As you kind of had the bye week to reflect a little bit on the first half of the season, but also that game specifically. Just how can you guys kind of correct those things? What are you guys talking about, sort of making sure that you guys are on the same page?
Yeah, I mean, we just got to take advantage of offenses that we know that we can beat. You know, just games that we could win every week if we play the way we play on defense. We just got to give our offense a chance, and we didn't do that in the first half of last game. We put them too far behind, so that was on us. You know, we got to look ourselves in the mirror, accept it, correct it, and move on.
Hey, Grant, Jordan was up here yesterday just talking about what he's been through this season. I was just wondering, how many examples are there over a season of guys going through a lot behind the scenes, but then to the fans they might just look like a name on an injury report?
Yeah. No, yeah, man. Listen, this is a tough game. Your body get beat up, crazy. You know, Jordan has had I don't know how many injuries, but probably more than all of us. And we put a lot into rehabbing, recovery every week. You know, it's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, but the main thing is winning on Sundays, and that's what we get paid to do. And that's what we got to do.
I think are we a little too desensitized to the injuries and violence in the game?
Nah, I mean, people know it's a violent game, I feel like. But, of course, I mean, I don't know what they do in their everyday job, so I wouldn't expect them to know what we do. So, you know, we signed up for it, but, hey, it's a tough game, and, you know, I don't want that to go under the radar, of course.
How many people you got coming Sunday?
At least, I had to get a suite and a couple more tickets, so altogether maybe like 30, 40, something like that.
Wow. When you go home, what's the must-have meal you have to have in Louisiana?
Gumbo, my grandma gumbo. She knows what's going on. She probably making a roux right now.
What's she putting in that makes it special?
I don't know. You got to ask her. My mama don't even know. So I said, Ma, you better hurry up and learn because, hey, ain't going to be here forever.
In terms of the Saints and their 3-7 record, when you look at some of the talent on that team, it doesn't seem like they really are a 3-7 football team. What do you think of them just as far as their ability overall?
They're missing some key players on offense to start. They have a great running back, a good defense. So I don't know. So we're kind of in the same boat. I feel like both teams, we're not where we want to be, of course, and we could be much better than we are. They won a big division game last week, so they riding that momentum. So we got to go in and stop that.
Did you grow up a Saints fan?
Yeah, I definitely. We had season tickets. My grandpa did. They used to know me, you know, running around the stadium, up the ramps. As a little kid that was just not even focused on the game, really just running around the stadium. So I definitely got some history and some roots in that stadium for sure.
Who's your favorite player?
Sure, that's a good question. That's a good question. I know every Saints player from Deuce McAllister, man, Joe Horn, Devery Henderson, Marcus Colston, Reggie Bush. When he was on the Saints, was my favorite player, of course. I feel like everybody was. He was everybody's favorite player. It was a good team to grow up with, cheering for, man, and like the Saints mean so much to the city, so it's a good vibe. And the Saints win, but unfortunately they got to lose this week.
What makes the Superdome such a tough place to play?
Of course, the crowd. You know, the crowd is always into it. No matter how good they are, the crowd is always going to show up and support. So it's really the crowd and that noise that it probably got a lot to do with the dome. I don't know.
Why have picks been so hard to come by?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. Some years they come, some years they don't. But I don't like. It's been a drought recently. We dropped a couple. That probably got a lot to do with it. But they don't know way. As long as you keep doing your job, you know, we don't want to chase picks. You know what I'm saying? We want to make them when they come. We want to go get them as well, but we don't want to chase. And that we probably did a bad job of that last week, just trying to make plays, getting out of position. So we just got to stay in position. They're going to come. Thank you.